My name is Nora, and I'm a 41-year-old single mother. My daughter, Aurora, just turned 11 this year and is studying hard every day to get into a good middle school in 2 years. It's hard to believe, but we're enjoying peaceful days now, a far cry from the trials and tribulations I went through a decade ago. I worked as a tax accountant at the first company I was assigned to. The person in charge of accounting was my ex-husband, Jasper. We decided to get married when he was 29 and I was 27. Jasper had lost his father a few years prior and was living with his mother. "I just want to confirm, if we get married, will we be living with your mother?" I asked. "No," he replied. "My mom said she wants to live comfortably on her own." "Really?" I said. "Well, she did say she'd like to live close by once we're married." I remember feeling relieved as I wanted to avoid living with my mother-in-law if at all possible. Since Jasper was an only son, of course, I wanted him nearby, but living together wouldn't give you any privacy, right? "I'd be happy if you could just live close by," his mother said. "I agree with the idea of maintaining each other's privacy," I responded. "It would also be reassuring to know you're close enough to rush over if needed." "I'm not that old yet, so I'll try not to be a burden," Jasper added. His mother assured us. At the time, I thought I could manage well with a mother-in-law like this. However, within a month of getting married, my mother-in-law started barging into our private space without any qualms. It started with crab. Some delicious crab arrived from a relative. "I'll bring it over so we can have crab dishes together tonight," she said. There was no way to refuse when she put it like that. Plus, my mother-in-law was a big drinker. She asked us to have beer, wine, and whiskey ready too. Well, I figured an occasional family meal like this might be necessary now that we were family, but I was too naive. After over 3 hours of eating and drinking, my mother-in-law got dead drunk and passed out on the living room couch. The next morning, she had a hearty breakfast before going home. After that, she kept finding similar excuses to come over frequently. Then she got even more brazen, calling with requests like this. "Nora, have you decided on dinner yet?" "Yes, I was just about to start making it." "Perfect timing! I was out with friends today and just got home. I'm starving. I didn't prepare anything, so is it okay if I come over and have dinner with you tonight? But I only bought enough ingredients for 2 people." "No problem. I don't eat that much, so just share a little with me." My mother-in-law's sudden invasions continued after that. She would contact me as if she had timed it exactly to when I was about to start making dinner, forcefully come over, stay late into the night, and then sleep over. It was an endless cycle. I had no time to relax. "Hey, can't you talk to your mother and ask her to hold back a little?" I asked my husband. "My mom just wants to get along with you," he said. "But didn't she say at first that she would respect our privacy, that she would keep an appropriate distance?" "Okay, I got it. I'll talk to her nicely." But I still kept getting calls from my mother-in-law with no regard for us. I realized that if I didn't speak up and just put up with it, she would only take further advantage. Jasper was unreliable. I decided I needed to refuse her myself. "Nora, is it okay if I impose on you again today?" she asked. "I'm sorry, but that won't work today. Jasper and I will be coming to your house," I responded. "That's no good. Even if you come over, I won't be able to serve you anything decent." "We don't mind at all. Please let us eat a meal you've cooked once in a while." "You've got some nerve telling me to cook in your position as the daughter-in-law." "My position is that? How do you feel? You think that as the daughter-in-law, I should just do as I'm told?" "No, that's not what I meant. But anyway, please don't come over. Remember how we promised to keep an appropriate distance while maintaining a good relationship? In that case, please refrain from coming to our house from now on, too." I worried I might have gone a bit too far, but I felt that if I didn't make myself clear, she would only escalate her intrusiveness. After I refused my mother-in-law's visits, she lay low for a while. Sometime later, I found out I was pregnant. When I entered my 9th month, I took maternity leave and temporarily went back to my parents' home. With my mother's help, I was able to spend my days there peacefully. Then, a week before my due date, I gave birth to a healthy baby girl. We named her Aurora. The day after giving birth, my mother-in-law showed up at the hospital. "I thought of some good names," she said, handing me a piece of paper. It had a list of 10 names. "Mom, I feel bad since you went to the trouble, but we already decided on a name," I said. Jasper told her, "What? Why would you do that without consulting me? This child is my granddaughter. I'm going to be her naming parent. Please stop." "We already decided," I said. "You haven't submitted the paperwork yet, right? Then there's still time, I know. I'll go take care of it," she said. My mother, who had been silently listening to the exchange with my mother-in-law, chided her in a low voice. "The baby that was born is Jasper and Nora's child. Parents name their children. We grandmothers have no such right. But I was so looking forward to it. Come on, Jasper, don't take this joy away from an old woman." "Jasper and Nora, we're looking forward to this even more than you, don't you think? As a parent yourself, I think you should understand how they feel." At a loss for words in the face of my mother's scolding, my mother-in-law glared at her resentfully and left the hospital room. Jasper hurried out after her. "Mom, thank you. I feel better after you clearly expressed that," I said. "Dealing with that mother-in-law must be hard on you, but you'll be able to rest easy at our home for a while, right?" "I'm planning to stay for about a month," I said. "Got it. Make sure you fully recover during that time." However, on the very day I was being discharged, who should have shown up to get me but Jasper and my mother-in-law together? "Everything is ready to welcome Aurora. Let's go home, Nora," she declared. "Wait a minute. I thought I told you that I would be having my daughter recuperate at my family's home for a month," I said. "Is your parents' house her and Aurora's home?" "I don't think so. Jasper has been waiting all this time for them to come back too, but she still hasn't recovered physically," my mother pointed out. "I live nearby, so I will take good care of her. Now hurry up and get ready to go, Nora. I won't budge from here until you do." Up until then, Jasper had been awkwardly watching the exchange between my mother and his, but now he spoke up. "I want Nora and Aurora to come home soon too, but I won't be able to do any housework yet since I'm still in pain. I'll help out as much as I can, and my mom said she'll pitch in for a while too." "Nora, you've been imposing on your mother up until giving birth, right? Do you intend to burden her even more? Isn't that just selfishness on your part?" With my mother-in-law arguing to that extent, I felt I couldn't trouble my mother any further. "Of course," my mom said. "Don't hold back on my account." But I knew that if I insisted on staying with my parents at this point, there was no telling what my mother-in-law might say later, half out of spite. I decided to return to my own home rather than recuperate at my parents' house. However, I quickly realized this was a mistake. The very next day, my mother-in-law showed up as if she had been waiting for this moment. "Aurora, Grandma's going to hold you now," she said. "Please don't wake her. She just fell asleep," I pleaded. "It's fine. I raised Jasper, you know," she said, picking up Aurora on her own. Sure enough, Aurora started wailing loudly. No matter how much my mother-in-law tried to soothe her, she wouldn't stop crying. My, isn't this child a bit too nervous and high-strung?" she tutted. "That's why I asked you not to wake her. And here I came over thinking I'd lend you a hand. You sure have a harsh way of talking." I had to take Aurora back from her and calm her down myself. "Once again, if you're here to lend a hand, could I ask you to do the shopping and prepare meals? I'm not in any shape to go out yet," I said. "Prepare meals? That's not my forte, so I'll have to pass. I'd rather help with childcare instead," she replied. "Pass? I'll handle the childcare, so please take care of the other chores." "Oh my, Nora, do you plan to monopolize Aurora when she wakes up?" "I'll hold her. You can do the housework in the meantime. That's what I came here for after all." "In that case, could you put Aurora to sleep now?" I asked. "But she's crying. Do you think she wants milk?" "I just fed her a little while ago." "Then it must be her diaper. Hurry up and change it." "I changed her diaper too. Is that so?" "Well, then there's nothing I can do." Perhaps realizing there was nothing for her to do, my mother-in-law said, "I'll come to check on you again tomorrow," and promptly left. Please don't come anymore. Never come again. All I could do was grumble to myself. After that, my mother-in-law came to our house almost every day. But far from lending a hand, she would just wake Aurora up from her sleep and put her in a bad mood. To top it off, she would eat the meals I prepared and leave without cleaning up. Jasper, whom I had been counting on, would come home from work, look at Aurora's face, and just grin, saying, "She's so cute." When I asked him to help with chores, he did a half-hearted job that only created more work for me to redo. I couldn't rely on anyone anymore. I guess I had no choice but to do my best on my own. Exhausted from lack of sleep after giving birth, I was on the verge of collapse. About a month after Aurora was born, on a day off, Jasper, who had woken up early for once, called out to me, "I'll watch Aurora, so why don't you get some sleep? You're tired, aren't you?" "I'd be grateful if you could, but will you be okay on your own?" I asked. "My mom will be here soon, so it'll be fine. Just leave it to me." I had my doubts, but I hadn't been able to get much sleep, so I decided to rest as he suggested. About an hour later, I heard Aurora crying. Either Jasper or my mother-in-law should have been soothing her. I tried to go back to sleep, but Aurora's crying didn't stop. It seemed to be getting more intense. I hurriedly jumped out of bed and headed to Aurora. Jasper was nowhere to be seen, and my mother-in-law was standing there with a sour look on her face, leaving Aurora unattended in her crib. "Where's Jasper?" I asked. "He went out, said he got a call from a friend or something." "So what are you doing?" "What do you mean?" "Aurora wouldn't stop crying no matter what, so I put her back in the crib." "Is it her diaper? Did you check her diaper?" "Are you telling me to do that? I've forgotten how to change diapers since you're up. Hurry up and change her." I was an idiot for leaving it to them. As I changed Aurora's diaper and soothed her, she began to fall asleep comfortably in my arms. "Oh, her mood improved. Here, hand her over," my mother-in-law said, taking Aurora from me. And so began another round of her holding the baby. Thinking it was pointless to say anything more, I started washing the dishes Jasper and his mother had likely used. Just then, Aurora started fussing, and my mother-in-law frantically tried to appease her. "It's Grandma, Aurora, it's Grandma," she repeated. But Aurora wouldn't stop crying, and when she started rocking her vigorously, Aurora's cries became even more intense. I tried to take over, but then something unbelievable happened. "Why are you always crying? Jasper says your night crying is annoying too. Shut up." My mother-in-law started getting genuinely angry at the 1-month-old baby. Then while yelling, "Shut up, shut up," she began hitting Aurora on the head. "What are you doing? Stop it," I screamed. "I'm punishing her because she won't listen. Look, she's gotten quiet now." I looked at Aurora and saw that her head and limbs had gone limp. She had probably lost consciousness. I snatched Aurora away from my mother-in-law. "What the hell are you trying to kill Aurora? If anything happens to her, I won't forgive you." I immediately called for an ambulance. Seeing Aurora's lifeless form, my mother-in-law seemed to realize the gravity of the situation. I got in the ambulance with Aurora, and we headed to the hospital. Aurora was hurriedly taken into the examination room. Then I heard my mother-in-law telling the nurses something. I turned my back for a second, and she fell out of the crib. "Please help her. She fell out of the crib." "Why are you lying like that? You hit her." But now wasn't the time to be saying such things. About an hour later, the doctor came in. "Your daughter has shaken baby syndrome. She vomited afterward and had a seizure, so there's no doubt." "And has she regained consciousness?" I asked. "There doesn't seem to be any impairment of consciousness. Her EEG was normal too. She's in a state of normal sleep now. If she rests a bit, you should be able to take her home today without issue." "Oh, thank goodness. Just to confirm, though, you said she fell out of the crib, but is that true?" "What? What do you mean?" "Shaken baby syndrome doesn't occur from something like falling out of a crib. It only presents if the head is violently shaken or struck hard." "Oh, that was this mother's fault then. I saw her hitting Aurora on the head because she wouldn't stop crying." My mother-in-law suddenly interjected. "Is that true, doctor?" "What? No, I did no such thing. The one who did it was—" "Stop making excuses. Don't take shaken baby syndrome lightly. You were fortunate it was mild this time, but in severe cases it can cause cerebral hemorrhage, vision impairment, and other issues," the doctor warned. I told her hitting a baby is not something a mother should do, but this person— "Mother-in-law, please don't lie. The one who hit her head was—" "Stop with the excuses." While we were arguing, nurses who had been told something by the doctor started moving busily. Then the doctor said, "I'd like to hear more details, so could you please come with me?" I was taken to a narrow room. I was left there for a while, but eventually the police arrived. They explained that what happened constituted assault. "I didn't do anything. The one who hit my daughter's head was my mother-in-law," I told them. "I see. We'll need to hear the full story at the station, so would you please come with us?" I desperately tried to stay calm. I felt that if I made a scene here, the criticism would be directed at me. I asked the nurses to handle things and followed the police. At the station, I explained in detail everything that had happened that day. "All right, you may go home for today. We'll need to hear from your daughter's grandmother as well, so please inform her that we will be contacting her," the officer said. "I understand. I apologize for the trouble. Thank you for your help." Hours had passed since then. Aurora would probably be anxious when she woke up. I hurried to the hospital. Upon arriving, I went to see the doctor who had examined her. "Excuse me, where is my daughter?" I asked. "Your daughter was already taken home by her grandmother." "What? You're kidding, right?" I rushed home. On the way, I realized I had forgotten to contact Jasper, so I hastily called him. "What the hell did you do?" he shouted. "What do you mean?" "I heard you hit Aurora. Is that something a mother should do?" "Wait a minute. I'm coming home now. I'll explain everything." I hurried home. When I opened the door, Jasper was waiting in the entryway, standing imposingly. "You've got some nerve coming back here looking so unperturbed. How can you face Aurora?" "Wait, I think there's some misunderstanding, but I didn't do anything." "Stop spouting nonsense. I heard everything from my mother. You were taken in by the police, weren't you? That's because your mother is telling awful lies, trying to blame it on my mother. You're unbelievable." Then I heard my mother-in-law's voice from inside. "There's no place for you here anymore." "Does she intend to keep lying like this? I won't let her. You may not believe anything I say right now, but I think the truth will come to light before long. Can I stay here until then?" I asked. "What do you mean? The police will be coming here later. Let's clarify the truth with them present." At that, my mother-in-law hurriedly said, "I think I better go home for today," and headed for the door. Desperate to stop her, I blocked her way. Just then, the doorbell rang and the police arrived. The two officers, myself, my mother-in-law, and Jasper sat around the table. "We heard the full story from Aurora's mother earlier. It doesn't match what the grandmother told us, so we'd like to have the grandmother tell us about today's events once more," an officer said. "Like I said, it's just as I told you at the hospital. Nora hit Aurora on the head. Aurora collapsed, and then—" My mother-in-law desperately tried to concoct a story but ended up faltering and not making any sense. She couldn't properly answer the officer's questions and finally burst into tears. "Then let me confirm one last time. The one who harmed Aurora was not the mother, but the grandmother. Is that correct?" The officer's stern words made my mother-in-law could only nod. With this, the suspicion against me was finally completely cleared. If she tried to make things worse, I intended to sue her for assault. When I told her that, she clung to me, pleading, "Anything but that." I resolutely shook off her clinging hands. Then, with her head hanging, she was taken away by the police. Jasper was just as flustered. "Mom did it, saying she'd take care of her and then resorting to violence. That's the worst." "You have no right to criticize your mother, Jasper. You're Aurora's father, right? Who was it that said to leave Aurora to them and then went off to hang out on their own?" "Oh, well, that, and you said whatever you liked without verifying the truth. Did you think I was that terrible of a mother?" "No, I just didn't think my mom would do something like that, so—" "So you thought I would? Enough. I can't be with you anymore. I want a divorce." "Hey, calm down. I'm not getting a divorce. Let me tell you. You're not qualified to be a father. And while we're at it, you're not qualified to be my husband either. Hurry up, pack your things, and get out." After that, as Aurora's guardian, I decided to sue my mother-in-law for assault for harming Aurora. She seems to have gotten off with just a fine, but I have no intention of ever forgiving her for trying to pin the crime on me. In the heat of the moment, I was able to properly collect enough alimony and child support from the two of them for Aurora and me to live on going forward. Since cutting ties with that foolish mother and son, peaceful days have continued for us.